Thank you very much for joining us tonight. My name is Edward Kabasa. Our sign language interpreter is Lucy Maura. The Ministry of Health is warning that the country could be forced to reintroduce stiffer measures if the current trend of coronavirus infections continue to rise. The warning came as the country recorded 318 new cases in the last 24 hours, only a day after schools resumed. The Ministry of Health Chief Administrative Secretary Dr. Rashid Aman warned that Kenya was staring at a second infection wave, urging for full adherence to regulations put in place to fight the pandemic.
The upwards trajectory of COVID-19 is now worrying the Ministry of Health. The ministry warning that the nation was edging to a second wave in a day where 318 new cases were confirmed from 2,592 samples, representing 12% positivity rate. The ministry's Chief Administrative Secretary Dr. Rashid Aman said the case is scaring now that schools have resumed classes.
It is a likelihood that it can happen. A second wave is a real likelihood for us. I think the data, as we have seen coming in, and we need to watch it very carefully over the next few days and weeks, is that we are beginning to see another steady climb following the relaxation.
As a way of making schools safe, Dr. Aman said the ministry may consider undertaking tests in learning institutions to ascertain the safety of learners.
If a child turns positive in a school, or a child has symptoms of COVID-19, what happens? A test would be done. If it's a public facility, a test would be done. Of course, we have the rapid response teams throughout the country who would be activated to come and take care of that individual.
Aman said the ministry will not shy away from taking drastic measures should the cases continue spiraling.
Today, our positivity rate was 12 point something. 12 point something. These positivity rates may fluctuate over time, but when we look at the 7-day moving average, and then we begin to see that we are moving above the 5% positivity rate, it's a danger sign that we are moving in the wrong direction. And to avoid moving in that wrong direction, we need to be able to strictly adhere to these measures.
In a similar period, 10 patients succumbed to the disease, taking the country's fatalities to 787. In the new cases reported on Tuesday, 215 are males and 103 females. Nairobi registered the highest number at 112, followed by Uasin Gishu at 30, Mombasa 29, Nakuru 25, Busia 24, Kisii 21, Kisumu 19, Kakamega and Murang'a recording 8 cases each, Kilifi 6, Laikipia, Kiambu and Embu recording 5 cases each, Homa Bay 4, Trans Nzoia and Turkana 3 cases each, Machakos, Isiolo and Kajiado recording 2 cases each, Nyandarua, Garissa, Tharaka Nithi, Vihiga and Kirinyaga recording 1 case each.
Years and above perform self-tests which could explain the late diagnosis and hence unsuccessful treatment.
The official launch of Breast Cancer Awareness Month at Kenyatta National Hospital, characterized by an outcry from patients lamenting the burden of the cost of cancer treatment and the stigma.
Let us embrace our people. The moment I felt sick, I had lost hope. But at least I had people who embraced me. The most painful death that cancer patients are feeling is death without love. When people abandon you and leave you, and you are just segregated here by yourself, there's no hope and there's no will to live.
Na wale wanasema kansa ni ya wamama, mugeuze, inaweza kamata hata wewe. Kwa hivyo mimi ni moja ya patients wa wale wanaendelea kutibiwa hapa.
Under the slogan, if you are not infected, you are affected, the breast cancer patients appealed for support as they fight the disease.
As breast cancer patients, once we have our breast removed, part of us is empty. For our self-esteem, we need something. We need breast prostheses and bras. Those things are out of reach for most of the cancer survivors. Like for instance, I was telling the doctor here, what I've stuffed inside here, it's something else, and the bra, it's something else.
Naomba wase, hata nyinyi vijana, jitokezeni. Ukikusikia uko na hiyo kakitu, kuja ona daktari. alafu atakwambia the next step ile mtachukua mkiwa pamoja.
Stakeholders calling upon men and women to take screening seriously, saying it is the only way to keep the third leading cause of death in Kenya at bay.
As we are all aware, prevention is better than cure, and therefore embracing screening and wellness checks at an individual level is what will make the difference in the fight against cancer and other non-communicable diseases in general.
According to the latest data by the Ministry of Health, over 6,900 new breast cancer cases are diagnosed each year in Kenya, with at least 7 women dying of the disease daily. Globally, the World Health Organization says there are about 1.38 million new cases and 458,000 deaths from breast cancer annually.
In the age of today, the burden of non-communicable diseases such as cancer, diabetes, cardiovascular diseases, chronic respiratory conditions, etc., is on the rise. Add to that emerging epidemics and pandemics, and we find ourselves at crossroads of a triple disease burden.
Health experts say the COVID-19 outbreak has hindered the treatment of many patients. Breast Cancer Awareness Month, marked in countries across the world every October, helps to increase attention and support for the awareness, early detection and treatment of the disease. As the number of coronavirus cases in the country continues to spike, and with the Ministry of Health warning that a second wave of the deadly disease is inevitable if Kenyans continue to disregard the COVID-19 prevention protocols, Kenyans with underlying conditions such as cancer are a worried lot. The treatment costs remain an expensive affair. Purity Museo, Channel 1 News at KNH, Nairobi County.
Let us now take a look at education matters, where the turnout of grade 4, class 8 and Form 4 learners rose steadily on the second day of the phased reopening of schools countrywide. However, some school heads say implementing the prescribed COVID-19 protocols is still a tall order, citing inadequacy of funds to facilitate acquisition of necessary hygiene provisions, especially in public schools. A spot check by KBC Channel 1 in select schools in Nairobi revealed full capacity for some classes, while others have only registered half the number of students. An example is 3 Bells Primary School in Kibera, where only 19 out of 30 Class 8 candidates have turned up. The head teacher Joshua Muya citing economic limitation on the side of parents.
Many of the parents lost their jobs, others are not in that capacity to pay school fees. So up to now their pupils are still at home, because up to now you have recorded only 50% attendance or turn up.
Moya saying the school has put in place necessary measures to abide by the Ministry of Health requirements.
We have put in place the washing, the different washing areas in our school. That is the destinations.
On the flip side, Silas Okumu, the head teacher of Kileleshwa Primary School, says the small number of learners in the school has made it easier to observe social distancing and other COVID-19 prevention protocols.
With us, we don't have so much challenge in the sense that the enrollment in our school is not very high. So we have got extra classes.
He adds that the learners have been taken through induction sessions on how best to avoid infection, a situation replicated in Kenya High Secondary School and 3 Bells Primary School.
We invited one of the councillors working with one of the churches that we are partnering with, and we told them we had to give them psychosocial support on what is expected of them.
We've attached students to different groups of teachers, so that in case a student has any issue, then she can be open, because they took a long time at home, and we really want to have them back to school and to understand what they went through and such.
Flora Mulatia, the chief principal Kenya High Secondary School, says all Form 4 candidates have reported and learning began Tuesday. The situation is, however, different in Kilimani Primary School, where financial constraints are proving detrimental to implementing the directives. Head teacher Lucia Pondi calling on the government to provide learners with masks, since some of them cannot afford the critical gear.
We are experiencing challenges in having enough water points. And you find that some children come without masks, We are not ready to provide masks because some parents, I think, I don't know, maybe they have just ignored the fact that they are supposed to give their children, and maybe they feel that the school should provide.
Thika School for the Blind is also facing the same predicament, as only 11 learners are in school, with the principal, Margaret Njoki Njuguna, acknowledging many parents at the school are facing tough economic times. Another issue is insufficient water and social distancing, as visually impaired students learn through touch and smell.
Like shortage of water, whereby in our area it is rationed, so water might be a problem. Also sanitizers are a bit expensive.
At the same time, Jane Kariuki, the curriculum support officer in charge of special schools in Thika sub-county, however, said parents could be keeping their disabled children at home because of fear. Elsewhere in Kisii County, a spot check revealed challenges in social distancing at Kari, a public primary school with a population of 1,200 pupils. 360 learners in Standard 8 and Grade 4 are in school, occupying 16 classrooms out of 24. The school management is considering makeshift classrooms to accommodate more learners.
The forced to expand so that we can be able to accommodate and meet the distance as per the protocols enshrined in the Ministry of Education.
And that's a story by Wycliffe Otieno, voiced by Sulaiman Nyeri. Let us take a look at Masjidjadi celebrations now, where only 3,000 guests will be allowed into the Gusii Stadium in Kisii County for this year's Masjidjadi national celebrations on Tuesday next week. Principal Secretary in the Ministry of Interior and National Coordination, Karanja Kifisho, who inspected the stadium, said all relevant COVID-19 prevention protocols will be adhered to help contain the spread of the virus. While the Gusii Stadium will host the main events, residents of Kisii County and its environs will also be able to follow the proceedings from Kisii Golf Club and Kisii Primary School grounds, respectively. The celebrations will also be broadcast live on Kenyan radio and television stations. Kisii County was given another chance to host the national event after this year's Madaraka Day celebrations was cancelled due to the coronavirus outbreak.
May not happen. The usual display of the kids and scouts, police, we may miss a bit of that as we observe the protocol, but we'll ensure that we give the celebrations here the dignity that Masjidjadi and the Masjidjads of this country deserve. And therefore, for this year, we'll have a number of venues. We'll have those people who will be in the stadium, and we'll have others who will sit in specified spaces around the Kisii town.
You're watching Channel 1 News Hour. We're taking a quick break, but don't go anywhere. I will be speaking to the CEO of the Texas Cancer Center, and we'll be talking about cancer. This month, the world is marking the Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Kenya is joining this particular campaign amid worrying statistics. More details coming up next.
Next on.
Hello.
Mr. Julio, I just wanted to know if we're seeing each other.
I'm sorry I can't today.
Oh, I was going to ask if you could come with me.
Don't you get it? I just can't talk to you right now.
Who is there? Nurse, are you there? Nurse, is that you?
I need to go out.
No. I'll be the one to go out first.
Don't try to get cute with me, or I'll show you what I'm capable of.
Let him go! What's going on? Roxana Herrera Rubio?
Yes, that's me.
National Police. You were under arrest.
No, this must be a mistake.
It has something to do with your luggage, ma'am.
But I packed it myself. There's nothing wrong with my luggage. I'm pretty sure this is a huge mistake.
In Love with Ramon. This weekend on KBC Channel 1.
Yes, I am Khalil. Why not? You don't know. Maybe you live in another planet. For Christ's sake, when will you break free from these maids and beliefs? Maybe she never will. Atito, what are you trying to prove?
Prove where? I have nothing to prove to you, mushroom head. Will someone fill us in?
You mean Hatat, eh? Right? Then why are you playing it? You think you are stupid?
Brother, put your body self out of this. You have no idea what I'm speaking about.
Shut it, you two guavas. I'm trying to concentrate here.
Hey, Kinyanjui, let the dude speak.
Oh, you want him to speak, eh? You want him to speak? He will not speak.
You're watching Shadow One News Hour. We are heading straight into your health. In studio, I am joined by the CEO, Texas Cancer Center, Catherine Nyongesa. Thank you very much for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
Were you at KNH today?
Yes, I was there for the Breast Cancer Awareness Month launch.
And this has really taken a backstage for quite some time because the country is currently speaking and raising awareness on COVID-19. But so many people are forgetting that there is that population that is suffering from cancer that we need to talk about. A month has been dedicated to this. It's not just about breast cancer, right?
Yes. So, yeah, today we are October generally is a month dedicated to creating awareness about breast cancer. But usually we also loop in other cancers. So we encourage women to go for screening for both cervical and breast cancer. And we don't leave the men behind and even the children, that people should be watching out for common signs and symptoms of cancer.
One of the worrying statistics is that up to 7 women die from cancer daily in Kenya.
Yes.
And it paints a picture of a really desperate need for care, isn't it?
True. Yeah, breast cancer is a curable disease if detected early, and that's the more reason we are really pulling together efforts, both government and other private facilities and NGOs, to see how best to get this message across to our women to go to hospital early, because this is a treatable disease. And also we know that with COVID-19, cancer has taken a backstage, as you said. But unfortunately, cancer is like a chronic disease, and patients are prone to a severe form of COVID-19. And the more reason why we should continue treating it early, so that we don't wait when it's too late, and when they get COVID-19, they really suffer.
And when you speak of early, what do you mean?
So cancer goes in stages. There's stage 1, stage 2, that is early stage, and then there's late stage, which is stage 3 and 4. So stage 1 and 2 is really curable, and the treatment options are there. While in stage 3 and 4, then the chances of it coming back is higher even after treatment.
One of the basic questions has been, what causes cancer? Do we have a definite answer that A, B, C, and D cause cancer?
70% of the cancers, no one knows the cause. It can get a child, an adult, and even an elderly person. But say for breast cancer, there are common risk factors. One is having fewer children or no children at all. Secondly is lack of breastfeeding your children. You are encouraged to breastfeed your children for at least 6 months to a year. That is is protective to the mother. The other risk factor is just being a woman. Many women, we are all at risk of breast cancer as we grow older. In fact, above 40, the risk increases, though we still get breast cancer in younger women. Another risk factor is family history. So if maybe your mother, your grandmother, or your aunt, we call them first-degree relatives, if they had cancer, then the chance of you getting cancer is higher. Another risk factor is prolonged use of oral contraceptive pills. And we are seeing a worrying trend in our young girls at school using those pills to prevent pregnancy. So we encourage them not to use pills at that early age. Let the people using pills use it just to plan their family. And if you really worried about conceiving and you're not, for example, married, then you can look for alternatives, ways of planning your family, like abstinence, using protection, instead of using the oral contraceptives when you are very young.
Why is cancer treatment and care very expensive?
Because cancer is a complex disease. It is not just one disease. It's very complex. It has very many aspects. In terms of treatment, you'll involve many specialties because the treatment is multidisciplinary. And then the other thing is that the symptoms of cancer mimic other diseases. They look like other diseases. So before a patient really gets to the oncologist, they've passed through many healthcare workers who are treating them for other issues. And by the time it's detected to be cancer, then the patient has to go for a biopsy. A biopsy costs money, so you're involving the pathologist who is going to review these slides in the lab and confirm it's cancer. From there, you may need a surgeon if it's early stage, and there's a cost to it. Apart from the surgeon, you need a counselor, you need a nurse, you need a nutritionist, you need an oncologist. So it's very complex. It's not like malaria. Maybe you even go to the GP, they give you oral medication and you get well. Cancer is very complex, and because it involves many different specialties, and then places where you seek for help are fewer, so patients end up spending more money because of trying just to navigate and getting to the right people to treat the cancer.
And are there any mitigation efforts to ensure that those who are not able to afford this kind of treatment do get it?
Definitely, one is with the rolling out of universal health care being piloted in certain counties. People are able just to go to the counties for screening, and that will be for free. Even some of basic diagnosis may be done in the counties. We also have the cancer chemotherapy centers that have been put up by the Ministry of Health, about 10 centers all across the country, and patients can get treatment there. So you see that makes it quite affordable. Apart from that, the National Hospital Insurance Fund has an oncology package to support the cancer patients. And the best way to reduce cost of treating cancer is to get early diagnosis, because with early diagnosis, you will not need complex treatments, which are expensive. And some of the complex treatments like radiotherapy and chemotherapy tend to be a little bit more expensive, and they're not widely available in the country. And the other things that there's also infrastructure for cancer centers, which is also expensive, and you find this translates to a high cost of treatment.
Do you think that cancer is currently getting the attention that it requires?
I think so. I mean, we are not yet there where we want to be as a country, but our government has made major strides to try just recognizing cancer is a problem. We have an arm in the Ministry of Health that has really been working on, like, we already have the National Cancer Screening Guidelines. Yes. We also have the National Cancer Treatment protocols that have been put, and they're all available online, so somebody can log in and just view the common symptoms of cancer. How do you go about it, depending on the level of the hospital. We also have the building of the human capacity. We have universities now training cancer specialists. University of Nairobi, Moi University. We even have other universities training technical people who handle like radiotherapy, say Jomo Kenyatta University. And the Technical University is almost starting a program in training what we call medical physicists. So there's a lot. In terms of infrastructure, there are plans underway to build, to put up actually complete cancer centers in Mombasa, Nakuru, Kisumu, Kisii, and Moi Teaching and Referral Hospital will also be soon starting. We have 2 national referral hospitals, Kenyatta National Hospital and Kenyatta University Teaching and Referral Hospital, all offering cancer services. So I would say there's a lot that has happened in the past maybe 3 years, and these are things we never had before. But we still need to build more capacity. We need to have more machines and train more people just in cancer care.
And I want us to briefly talk about the engagement that you have mentioned that the government is having with the private sector. The Texas Cancer Center is one of the elite players in this. But we have seen cases where some of these programs do not really resonate with the public because the talk out there is that most of these private sectors are out to drive profits. How do you ensure that Kenyans resonate with these policies, these things which are being introduced by the government in partnership with the private sector to ensure that the curve is flattened?
I think the public-private partnership is a good thing, and these private facilities are treating Kenyans, and they actually support government in terms of having cancer care accessible to even more people. And with the government, they always will sit down with the private facilities and negotiate for better prices. So you'll be surprised, like say NHIF, the package, it will pay the same for both government and private. So if the private facility is expensive, the patient has to top up, and when the patients find the topping up is a bit too high, they will not afford that hospital. I'm sure they can still go to the public hospital where they can afford. But having said that, I think the private and public, they complement each other, and also in terms of working together to create even more awareness, even in the grassroots, trying to build capacity in the grassroots so patients don't really have to travel long distances to get treatment in private hospitals.
Are we going to probably see a situation where insurance companies, I don't know whether they are doing it right now, insurance companies coming up with packages that are addressing diseases such as cancer?
Yeah, I mean, insurances have been doing that in the past, supporting cancer patients. Most of the insurances that I know of, really, they do support, and they complement the NHIF in terms of supporting that. But we still need them maybe to come up more and support the patients more in terms of supporting them even to complete the courses of treatment like chemotherapy and radiotherapy.
All right. And before we go, there is a rise in number of children who are being diagnosed with cancer in the country. Why is this, and how are we able to probably reverse this trend?
Okay, there's more awareness. Unfortunately, the symptoms of cancer in children mimic infections. In fact, they look like infections. Yes. Say leukemia. Children will come with fever, flu-like symptoms, nose bleeding, which is a very common symptom. Children coming with brain tumors, they'll come complaining of a headache, and any child with fever will always have a headache. They may vomit. Even malaria children would vomit. So because there is so much confusion in the way the symptoms are, they mimic the usual diseases. What will encourage mothers is that if your child is sick for more than 2 weeks and they're not responding to conventional treatment, it's always good to seek help. In fact, like children will come with swollen lymph nodes, this, we call them gae, glands in the neck, in the armpit, and they're being treated for TB. if your child doesn't respond to the TB treatment in 2 weeks' time, just seek for a second opinion, because when children's cancer is picked early, the cure rate is much more than for the adults. You'll be surprised the cure rate is even more than 80% in childhood cancers. And the more reason why the mothers need to be aware, the parents need to be aware, even the teachers. When you see this kid, all of a sudden they are not playing the way they are supposed to be playing, they are lying down. When the others go to play, they sit back and say, no, teacher, I feel tired, I'm having a headache. Don't just assume. Let them get checked.
Catherine Nyongesa?
Yes.
Thank you very much for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
That was Catherine Nyongesa, the CEO of the Texas Cancer Center. Let us take a look at other matters that we have for you. The Kenya Broadcasting Corporation is set for a major revamp as it seeks to reclaim its position as the leading broadcaster in the country. The corporation managing director, Dr. Naim Bilal, while on a tour of the Kisumu transmission station, said the state broadcaster has heavily invested in modern equipment to widen its coverage while giving its clientele quality content.
Ingia ile upande wa technical nawaambia, wana MD atawaambia. Ni hayo tu na tunawaombea. Asante.
The Kenya Broadcasting Managing Director Dr. Naim Bilal said efforts have been put in place to ensure the state broadcaster plays in its league as a leading broadcaster in the region.
We're in the process of acquiring a number of transmitters that we are going to be installing in various regions to enhance our radio coverage. And that goes hand in hand with a very broadened range of services at the content level, so that we are able to be a true national broadcaster, communicating government programs and projects, informing the public what is going on in government.
He also revealed the corporation has embarked on securing its properties across the country to fend off potential grabbers.
We are involved in a project to fence with concrete perimeter walls, various parcels of land that we have. We started with Mombasa. That project is underway. We are soon coming to Kisumu, and that will be rolled out to other areas where we have assets like land.
The managing director spoke as he met KBC staff at the Kisumu transmission station. He was accompanied by the corporation's board chairman David Were, among other board members. Meanwhile, the Media Council of Kenya is set to roll out its services at the county level as it seeks to move services closer to the people.
We're here from the Media Council of Kenya to look at and survey the space where we plan to open the regional offices for the Media Council of Kenya. The intention is to open the Kisumu regional office so that we can use it to reach out to journalists, media, and the communities in this region.
While accompanying the KBC Managing Director, the Kisumu office tour, the Council's Chief Executive Officer, David Omoyo, said the exercise will kick off in 5 counties before being rolled out across the country. Achola Simon, reporting for Channel 1 News from Kisumu County.
Let's take a look at some business news now. The private sector is raising alarm over increased domestic borrowing by the National Treasury, saying the move is crowding out the private sector. The Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and Industry says commercial banks are opting to buy government papers that offer better returns and are assured to be risk-free. Equity Bank says it has been forced to restructure 92 billion shillings owing to repayment challenges posed by the COVID-19 pandemic.
Data from the Central Bank of Kenya shows that the government borrowed 224 billion shillings from the domestic market in the months of June to September to plug our widening funding gap. The government plans to borrow 1 trillion shillings to plug a yawning budgeted deficit in the fiscal year 2020-2021. The private sector says this has worsened liquidity flow in the market. The Kenya National Chambers of Commerce and Industry President Richard Ngatia says since the first COVID-19 case was reported in the country, there has been a huge financing gap to the private sector, with most businesses scaling down operations, while some have shut down their operation completely for lack of capital.
Necessarily that sometimes our members are looking for hard cash. Sometimes they're looking for products, they're looking for asset financing, they're looking for LCs, they're looking for, depending on the products that they have, and whereby they can also get lines and credit facilities.
And there is no economy that can grow without credit, especially consumer credit.
Equity Bank says 70% of the 92 billion shillings restructured loans belong to the SMEs.
20% of all those loans, people given moratoriums, telling them we'll give you 2 years, we'll give you 1 year to survive, have been members of the Chamber of Commerce.
The lender has set aside 200 billion shillings to help liquidate the sector.
Necessarily that sometimes our members are looking for hard cash. Sometimes they're looking for products, they're looking for asset financing, they're looking for LCs, they're looking for, depending on the products that they have.
The lack of credit to the businessman and the businesswoman has been a real challenge, and we are here to pronounce that we are open for business.
This is in addition to a 10.8 billion shilling fund KNCCI sourced from the French investors during the recent President Uhuru Kenyatta's trip into the European nation.
A 10.8 billion, that is $100 million US dollars loan agreement with French development institution Propaco for onward lending to small and medium-sized enterprises.
The KNCCI president has urged lenders to restructure their loan portfolio to suit emerging SMEs' financial needs during the whole COVID-19 period. Benson Dioba reporting for Channel 1 Business.
And in other matters, Immaculate Kasayet has been nominated to become the country's first data commissioner following the recommendations of the new Data Protection Act of 2019. President Uhuru Kenyatta has urged the National Assembly to fast-track the vetting of the nominee to operationalize the Data Commissioner's office.
The nomination of Immaculate Kasait as Data Commissioner comes after the Public Service Commission invited Kenyans to reapply to the position after the first shortlist was scrapped off by a Nairobi court for not following procedure. Kasait emerged from a pool of 10 candidates. This was announced by the Speaker of the National Assembly in Parliament as a message from the President. Immaculate Kasait was appointed in accordance to Section 6 of the Data Protection Act 2019, and her nomination will be considered by the Parliamentary Departmental Committee on Communication, Information and Innovation within 21 days. The Office of the Data Commissioner is tasked with maintaining the register of data controllers and data processors, exercising oversight over data processing operations, and has investigatory powers with respect to any alleged breach of the provisions of the Data Protection Act. Betty Kiptum, Channel 1 Business.
The Department of Planning will hire 200 economists this year to help in crafting an economic recovery plan for the country. The team will be deployed across various central planning and project monitoring units countrywide to help in revitalizing the worst hit projects and programs in the country. Planning PS Aitoti Turome says in the meantime, the country should brace itself for hard economic times for at least a year until the turnaround plan is conceptualized.
Agriculture, tourism, education, as well as the health sector have been mapped out as the worst affected sectors of the country's economy since the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic. The country has further witnessed a surge in stalled projects, particularly those under the national level, a state of affairs attributed to undercapacity in implementation in monitoring units countrywide. The need to revitalize the economy has prompted the government to hire 200 economists to be distributed across the 47 counties.
The national government does a lot in the counties, and that is why we need to monitor the implementation of those projects in the counties. Economists should assist in undertaking economic analysis at the early stages of the project cycle to enable decision makers make informed decision about particular investment given various alternative and corresponding cost.
The new task force under the Central Planning and Project Monitoring Units have been put to task to invoke strategies that will recover the country's economy. Planning Principal Secretary Saitoti Torome says, however, it will take an year for the country to recover its losses once the units are capacitated.
Uchumi wetu sana sana hutegemea kilimo. Sekta ya kilimo ikifanya vizuri, kwa sababu sekta ya kilimo inaajiri watu wengi, hatutasikia athari sana za hii ugonjwa wa corona, kwa sababu kazi ama shughuli za kilimo zitakuwa zinaendelea. Na pia itategemea vile ambao tutaweza kufungua uchumi wetu ili hali ya kawaida irudi.
Torome further noted that the decentralization of the task force will ensure efficiency, particularly to national government stalled projects.
Ni lazima tuwe tunaangalia hii miradi ambayo serikali ya kitaifa hutekeleza kwenye kaunti inaendelea sambamba, inamalizika kwa ule wakati ambao unafaa kuwa inamalizika. Ndio tunataka hata kuimarisha zile ofisi za wanauchumi za kaunti ili wawe wanaangalia haya ya miradi yanatekelezwa aje. Wanashirikiana hasa na County Commissioner.
Juni Karisa Mbele from Mombasa County.
Let's take a look at some sports news. Nairobi County Governor Mike Sonko has reiterated his support for the upgrading and renovations of existing sport facilities in the region. Sonko, who engaged in joint fitness and training program with former national team's women's basketball players in Upper Hill, said he will not be left behind in creating a conducive environment in the city for sports to grow.
In an effort geared towards promoting and nurturing talent, Nairobi Governor Mike Sonko has said that he will work together with the national government in ensuring all sports facilities within Nairobi are upgraded to the required standards. Last month, he held a consultative meeting with Ministry of Sports officials led by Principal Secretary Joe Okudo and the Nairobi City County Sports Board, where they deliberated on development of sports in Nairobi City and the upgrade of sports facilities, especially the historic City Stadium. Earlier in 2016, the stadium had been shut down by the Stadium Safety and Security Committee for not meeting the minimum standards, hence unable to host league matches. The artificial turf covering the main grounds was worn out due to poor maintenance. The county had so far done 65% of phase 1, which included grading and plastering of the main sitting terraces, construction of 2 ablution blocks and fitting them with basic utilities, renovation of VIP lodge fitting with sanitary rooms and kitchen, renovation of the 2 dressing rooms and fitting them with furniture before handing over to the national government for completion process. Frederick Mwoki for Channel 1 Sports.
The World Athletics Federation has ratified recent world record-breaking feats for Kenyan Peres Jepchirchir and Sifan Hassan before the two clash at the World Athletics Half Marathon Championship in Gdynia, Poland this Saturday. Jepchirchir's 1 hour, 5 minutes, 34 seconds women-only world half marathon record is now official. She produced her record-breaking run on 5th of last month at the Prague 21.1 kilometer, an invitational-only elite half marathon held on a 16.5 lap course in Letno Park in the Czech capital. The 26-year-old Kenyan, who won the World Half Marathon title in 2016, was paced through the first 5 kilometers in about 15 minutes and 20 seconds.
5:30, but breaks it with over half a minute. 65-35 for Paris Chepchirchir. She is the new women's only world record holder.
Kenya Premier League side AFC Leopards has signed left-back Washington Munene on a permanent deal. The left-back had joined the Leopards on loan in September 2019 from Wazito FC. Munene's development is the second transfer. I'll take that again. Munene's development is the second transfer activity AFC Leopards has confirmed in the ongoing transfer window. Goalkeeper Benjamin Ochan has already agreed to a one-year contract extension after an impressive KPL debut season with Ingwe.
Concentration! Go! Speed!
That does it for us for this edition of Channel 1 News Hour. We do thank you very much for joining us tonight. On behalf of the team here, my name is Edward Kabasa. Our sign language interpreter was Lucy Mora. Please do stay up to date with breaking news on Twitter at KBC Channel 1. Good night.
Good evening and a very warm welcome to Channel 1 Weather Updates. I hope you're well today. My name is Irene Mchuma Odem. We are in the month that is characterized with the onset of short rains, and tonight most parts of the country have been covered with scattered wet conditions, save for the southeastern lowlands where there are partly cloudy conditions, and that is how the nights will be. Tonight, Eldoret and Kericho towns are the coldest. Temperatures stand at 11 degrees Celsius. Tomorrow it will rain in Kitale, and that is the only area that will experience wet conditions over the western sector during the morning hours. The northwestern parts of the country will mainly experience scattered wet conditions, as much as sunny intervals will prevail. Over the northeastern parts of the country, sunny intervals will prevail, but there will be rains in Moyale, and also light rains will prevail around Marsabit. The coastal strip will mainly be sunny, weather patterns that will also stretch to the southeastern lowlands, that is Machakos, Makindu, Voi, and also the capital. Meru and Nyeri will mainly experience sunny intervals during the morning hours, and this will change during the afternoon hours. There will be showers over mountainous areas in Meru and Nyeri. The northeastern parts of the country will experience sunny intervals, as much as cloudiness will prevail over a few places during the afternoon hours. That does not mean that there will be rains over any area in that region during the afternoon hours. The coastal strip will be sunny during the afternoon hours, and these are weather patterns that will also be experienced in Nairobi and counties around the region, such as Machakos County, the Lake Basin region, and western parts of the country will experience an increase of wet activities. These will be showers accompanied by thunderstorms, which will be experienced in Kitale, Kakamega, Bungoma, Eldoret, and also over the northwestern parts of the country. In Nakuru, there will be showers during the afternoon hours. Narok County will experience sunny intervals in the afternoon, and temperatures, this is how will fare out across the country. The highest will be experienced in Mandera at 36 degrees Celsius. The capital will experience highs of 26, and for you in Mombasa, expect highs of 29 degrees Celsius. And on that note, time now for us to cross the borders and have a look at the international forecast. Rain or shine, be well. See you tomorrow.
Vera Beauty College.
Vera Beauty and Fashion College.